Good evening and welcome to the May 2021 meeting of the Omaha Public Power District Board of Directors. Thank you all for joining us in person at the Legislative Chamber of the Omaha Douglas Civic Center and remotely via WebEx. I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy. With me today in the room are my fellow board members, Mike Kavanaugh, Sarah Howard, Janice Molhoff, Craig Moody, Mary Spurgeon, Eric Williams, and Rick Yoder. We also have President and CEO Tim Burke, our General Counsel Stephen Bruckner with the Fraser Stryker Law Firm, and members of our board meeting support staff. OPPD senior management team and subject matter experts are participating in today's meeting remotely and in person. Additionally, we have about 17 attendees on the WebEx consisting of OPPD employees and members of the public. We also have a member of the public in the room. As a reminder to board members, senior management, and OPPD staff, please mute your microphones to reduce background noise. To members of the public, thank you for attending. If you joined us via WebEx, you are in listen-only mode. If you have any technology questions, please use the chat feature in WebEx to communicate with the event host. If you are disconnected from the WebEx conference, we ask that you rejoin in the same manner as you originally joined. For those of you that have joined us in person today, there is an attendee sign-in sheet at the entrance of the Legislative Chamber. The sign-in sheet is for the public health contact tracing purposes only. I will now ask President Burke to give the safety briefing.
Great, thank you very much, Chairman Bogner. The safety briefing this month, all of us in this legislative chambers of the Douglas County facility have been briefed on all safety elements of this room in the event of an emergency. And the two safety elements that I will share today is to follow what, at least on the screen, says 3 W's. We've added another W. One is to watch our distance, to continue to wear a mask when we can't social distance, and wash our hands. And the 4th W that we've added is really to wish that our employees, at least we have done that in our weekly talks, to wish all of our employees and their families would obtain the COVID-19 vaccination. And we're seeing, because of the broad acceptance of that, a lot of things are opening back up in our communities, and that's a good sign. The other safety briefing we will add is because we are in this spring and after this kind of wet couple weeks that we've had, we're asking people to call 811 before you dig in your yard, before you plant a tree, before you plant landscaping, any kind of digging that you will do below the grass surface. We would ask you to call 811. They will come out and locate the utilities, whether it's gas or electricity or cable or fiber optic or water, to make sure that you do not dig and maintain safety during the time that you do that work. So that concludes our safety briefing for this month.
All right, thank you. Now let's run through our list of guidelines for the conduct of the meeting. This regular board meeting will follow the agenda made available to the public on OPPD.com. This meeting is being conducted in person and via WebEx events and is being recorded. Our board meeting will have public comment periods on the agenda. Comments made by all parties during the meeting are part of the official public record. Following board discussion on each pending matter, I will ask for public comment before bringing the matter to a vote. Also, prior to adjournment of the meeting, you will have an opportunity to comment on any other matters of OPPD business. We will take comments via WebEx and in the room. Let's first review the 2 options for WebEx attendees to notify us. Option 1, which is being displayed now, involves sending the meeting technology host a message using the chat feature, simply stating that you wish to speak. Ms. Henners?
Thank you, Chair Bogner. For those who have joined us using a computer or WebEx mobile app, you will find a button in your WebEx interface to open the chat panel. Once opened, you may send your message to the meeting technology host. Requests to provide comments will be relayed to Chair Bogner for recognition during the public comments section.
Option 2 is being displayed now and involves the hand raise feature. Ms. Henners?
WebEx allows attendees to virtually raise their hand. You may use this feature to indicate to OPPD that you wish to be recognized to provide comments. The hand raise button is located in the participant list panel as displayed on this slide. After you have provided your comments, please press the hand raise button again to virtually lower your hand. And for those who have joined the meeting using only a telephone, WebEx has a hand raise feature that is activated by pressing *3 to raise and lower your hand. When we see your hand raise, we will acknowledge you by referencing a portion of your phone number. For example, caller with the phone number beginning in 402-123. If you wish to provide comments when recognized, please wait a brief moment to be unmuted and begin speaking. At this time, if you would like to try using the hand raise feature, please do so as a test.
Okay, I'll allow plenty of time at each opportunity for public comment for members of the public to provide notification via WebEx. When I call on a member of the public to speak, your meeting technology host will unmute your microphone. Before commencing your comments, I suggest you first affirm that we can hear you. Please state your name and address and state the name of any organization or person you are representing. Organizations should choose one representative to speak on their behalf. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per pending matter at the discretion of the board. To assist you, we will display a timer to ensure each member of the public receives a consistent amount of time. Ms. Henners will signal you when 30 seconds remain, as well as when time is up. For in-person attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please line up behind the microphone while maintaining at least 6 feet of social distance. We ask that you wear your mask while speaking into the microphone. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we will use the timer that is in the room. Ms. Henners will signal you when 30 seconds remain, as well as when time is up. Please direct your comments to me. I will either respond to you directly or defer response to another board member or officer of the district. If you have written materials, please email them to Ms. Henners at mfhenners, that's MFHINNERS @OPPD.com, or hand them to her and she will receive them on our behalf. In summary, we will take WebEx comments first, then in-room comments, then have a last call. Ms. Henners, will you please take the roll call?
Wagner,
Here.
Kavanaugh,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Molhoff,
Here.
Moody,
Here.
Spurgeon,
Here.
Williams,
Here.
Yoder.
Here.
Notice of the time and place of this meeting was publicized by notifying the area news media, by publicizing Seaman Outlet's newsletter, and on OPPD.com, by displaying such notice on the arcade level of Energy Plaza since May 14th, 2021, and by emailing such notice to each of the district's directors on that same date. A copy of the proposed agenda for this meeting has been maintained on a current basis and is readily available for the public for public inspection in the office of the district's corporate secretary. Additionally, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available for inspection on OPPD.com and in this meeting room. The consent agenda items for this evening are as follows. Item 6, approval of the March and April 2021 comprehensive financial and operating reports, April 2021 meeting minutes, and the May 20th, 21 agenda. Item 7, SD3, access to credit markets monitoring report, resolution number 6431. Item 8, sale of real property located at 602 East First Street, resolution number 6432. And item 9, exchange of real property located at 9090 South 180th Street, resolution number 6433. If there are no corrections, changes, or additions to the consent agenda items, I need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved. Second.
All right, we discussed these action items at the all-committee meeting on Tuesday, May 18th. So at this time, I would like to ask if any members of the public have any comments on these consent agenda items. If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Ms. Henners, any comments?
I'm not seeing any hand raises. Lauren, could I ask you to please confirm?
I don't see any hand raises. Mark Welsh did request to speak when SD7 comes up.
I see that.
That's
Thank
the
you.
only. Okay. Yep.
Okay. Ms. Henners, will you call roll?
Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Mulhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon. Yes. Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item 10, SD7 Environmental Stewardship Revision, Resolution number 6434. Whereas the Board of Directors of Omaha Public Power District establishes policies through strategic directives to management, and whereas Strategic Directive 7 Environmental Stewardship, or SD7, has been adopted by the Board of Directors and revised most recently on November 14, 2019, pursuant to Resolution number 6347. And whereas, consistent with the district's mission to provide affordable, reliable, and environmentally sensitive energy services to its customer owners, the Board of Directors recognizes the scientific consensus that climate change is occurring due to greenhouse gas emissions, including carbon dioxide from human activity, which affect the environment and our customer owners. And whereas, work is underway at the district that will help address the effects of climate change, including large-scale renewable energy projects, the district's decarbonization strategic initiative, and emissions reductions across the district's generation fleet. And whereas the Systems Management and Nuclear Oversight Committee of the Board of Directors recommends revision of SD7 in the form attached hereto as Exhibit A, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District that OPPD's Strategic Directive 7 Environmental Stewardship is hereby approved as amended in the form attached hereto as Exhibit A.
Do I have a motion and second?
I'll second.
Apologies, audio trouble. I move to adopt the resolution in policy language.
I'll second.
I have a second from Director Yoder. All right. Director Williams, would you like to tee it up for discussion?
Great, thank you. We talked about this last month and then underwent a 30-day public comment period and then discussed again on Tuesday. I'd like to start by thanking the senior management team, the employees, and legal counsel who helped to refine this language that we have in both the resolution and the SD7 policy update. Summary of the comments over the last 30 days have been provided to the directors, and I hope that everybody has had a chance to review the significant amount of public input and discussion that we've received on this important topic. I think it's important to remember that the resolution and policy here does not specifically guide any future resource planning or other decisions, but merely confirms the underlying values with which we will make decisions moving forward. We specifically list the scientific consensus on climate change, and there are 4 bullet points that are generally highlighted in that consensus, which I mentioned on Tuesday, but I'll highlight again, that the Earth's climate has warmed significantly since the 1800s, that human activities, primarily greenhouse gas emissions, are the primary cause, that continuing emissions will increase the likelihood and severity of global effects, and that people and nations can act individually and collectively to slow the pace of global warming. And so that is the scientific information that is referenced in the scientific consensus that's listed in the policy language. We've talked about this a few times, and I'd be glad to hear comments from other directors and the public on the subject.
All right. Any other directors that would like to make comment? Director Spurgeon?
I'll just mention that it seems to me that this is a case of the board and OPPD walking the talk before we have put more of the talk in there. So I think that's a good thing. And I think if anything, this contributes to transparency for the public, that this is an element that underlines our policy decisions. Thanks.
Other Director Kavanaugh?
Thank you. I want to point out this strategic directive. This would be the 3rd revision last 2.5 years. At the time we created these strategic directives, I had concern that 5 board members at any meeting could change the thing entirely or partially. I've always felt the directives were written appropriately in the first place and basically should stand the test of time. This revision, like Dr. Williams said, isn't going to change basically how we do business. why we need it. The current version is well written, and I believe everything, if you look at the, what is there, 6 bullets on there, pretty much covers everything that's going to be mentioned in the well. It's this proposal is only going to appease environmental extremists. This is not going to change anything, as I pointed out earlier. It's just feel good resolution, but it is. I don't like the idea of, there's strong feelings on both sides, and I don't like the idea of being in politically when we create, modify direction that we expect the organization to follow. Just recognizing something, in this case, global warming, I don't think should be included in. I think we should stay with what we have. It's well written. I think it's good policy and should stand the test of time. I'll be voting no, not taking a position at all on change, just on basically whether they should be included.
All right, thank you, Director Kavanaugh. Any other statements? Dr. Mulhoff?
Thank you. The board is responsible to set strategic goals for what we expect of the CEO and staff. And it's important that we're clear about why these strategic directives have been adopted. I'm in favor of this statement confirming agreement with the science of climate change.
Thank you, Director Mulhoff. Director Moody?
3 things really. First, I'll just acknowledge that I find it an interesting sign of the times that we need to and have to and should acknowledge that science is real and exists in our strategic directives. I think that's a fascinating and interesting examination of where our society is in some ways, and I'll leave it at that. But you know, there aren't 2 sides to science either. It exists, and it is what it is. We should acknowledge it, look at it, and use it to inform our decisions. Full stop. I think there's an increasing understanding, and the data points this out, that this is becoming less and less of a polarized issue. People are starting to understand this. Younger generations get it. So I don't necessarily think that it's a 2 sides issue. And the last thing that I would say, and Director Mulhoff, you hinted at this, you know, we often talk about these strategic directives in terms of the what and the how, right? Our job is to define the what. But I think in this case, and any good organization will acknowledge this, it's also about the why. Why are we doing what we're doing? The what is important because it points the direction, but why we're going there is really important. And I appreciate the fact that this reinforces and helps everyone understand what the why is, because I think it's, in this case, it's particularly important. Thank you.
Any other directors? Director Yoder?
I had some concerns about the language as well, Mike, but because it's not strong enough. It's my concern, and I think the language that we ended up with is language that works for everybody, and I'm happy to support the language that we have. When it comes down to it, OPPD is an engineering organization. Engineers apply science, and they do that to deliver our mission of reliability. I think this language is useful in that it reinforces the need to make decisions based on science and verifiable data. And so I'm pretty supportive of it because of that job that it does. It says the quiet part out loud, and I'm happy about that.
Thank you, Director Yoder. Director?
You know, I wasn't actually intending to speak, but I appreciate you recognizing me, Director Wagner. I was on the committee that worked on the revision, and to me, this, I want to be respectful and mindful of Director Kavanaugh's time served on this board. I recognize that this SD has been modified multiple times, but I think we have to modify things once we know more. And as the board changes and evolves, and as our knowledge of climate change in particular changes and evolves, we have to make sure that our strategic directives reflect those changes. And so I served on the committee that worked on this. I'm happy with this language. It was well vetted by legal counsel. And so I feel very strongly that we should move forward on this change. Thank you, Director Bachner.
Thank you. And I'll add my 2 cents here. I'm also supportive of it. I think that the SD framework, if we're specifically talking about that, that was something that was put in place now several years ago here at the district, and has guided the district in how it moves forward with decisions and how it takes action. And as we've seen with nearly all of the SDs, there are revisions and refinements that need to be made. And I think that this clearly defines the why, as Director Moody points out. It clearly states the scientific evidence that is going to be the basis of policy making, as Director Yoder pointed out. And I think that it's a good policy. And I think it's a good change. So thank you very much for shepherding this, Director Williams, through the Systems Committee. Would you like to make any final comments?
Yeah, thanks very much. As to the substance of the language revision, the science is conclusive, overwhelming, peer-reviewed, and growing more comprehensive every day. Just this week, since we started the meetings, I took a note of some of the stories that have been covering the subject of climate change, including the U.S. Forest Service, EPA, and USDA reposting the climate change indicators map online, which had been taken down over the last few years. Right now, coincidentally, we are at the annual peak in what's called the Keeling curve, which measures the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere. And this is the highest it's ever been before in human history by a wide margin. So just coincidental that is occurring right now as we're having this discussion. The International Energy Agency talked extensively about the need for a net zero by 2050 goal by all of human society, with aggressive discussion on the use of fossil resources and what we need to do moving forward, but most specifically about the need to reach that goal and why climate change is so important to human society. Right now, the largest iceberg in history has broken off of the Antarctic West ice shelf and is floating away. It is 25 miles wide and 110 miles long, twice the size of the island of Manhattan. And that type of degradation of the natural systems, which have provided the stable and habitable climate for all of human history, is specifically why we need to address climate change. And even today, on my way here, I added one more to my list. Secretary Blinken was part of the Arctic Council in discussing the need for international cooperation, not competition, on climate change, specifically related to the Arctic and Antarctic, and how we preserve all of the resources that help to sustain humanity. So again, those are just stories that have come out this week since we've been having the discussion on this topic. As to whether or not this is necessary, before beginning the discussion on this policy revision, I reviewed some past documentation, and there were no substantive mentions of climate change in any previous annual report or corporate operating plan. And I think that is indicative of whether or not the board needs to take action in the absence of a clear direction about the future of the organization. As Director Moody highlighted with the why, I think that it is imperative that we highlight the specific underlying principles on which future decisions should be based. And I think this is an excellent example of language that helps us to do that as we move forward. I hope that the actions by OPPD will encourage other organizations to also step up and move forward on climate action. Specifically the city of Omaha, we have heard a lot of discussion this spring about a climate action plan, and I hope that that is developed and implemented and carried forward, centered on equity and climate justice, because those are imperative as we make this energy transition over the next few decades in our society. I hope that at the state level, Nebraska recognizes the need for a comprehensive energy plan to take advantage of the clean energy resources we have, but also the agricultural benefits that can come from carbon sequestration, and how our state can be part of both the mitigation and adaptation that is necessary. We don't currently have any state level comprehensive language or plan, and I encourage that to be developed. I hope that our demonstration of leadership here encourages other organizations to move forward, and I appreciate the support that we've received from the public and from the other board members on this policy language update today. Thank you.
All right, at this time, I would like to ask if any members of the public have any comments on this action item. If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Ms. Henners?
Mark Welsh, like to speak.
Thank you. Let's unmute Mark. Mark, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chairperson Wagner. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak today. And Director Williams, thank you for your work in bringing this change to SD7. And Director Moody, thank you for your work and the important message that this is reinforcing why we are doing what we are doing here in the district. Climate change scientists say that humans are responsible for more than, let me emphasize that, more than 100% of the global warming that has been going on now for over 100 years. We are not just the primary reason, we are the only reason the planet is warming. All the natural cycles, the tilt of the earth, the distance from the sun, everything else is trying to cool our planet and has been for about 6,000 years as we move towards what should have been a cold time and a future ice age. Director Rick Yoder, I agree with you. This is not strong enough, and I look forward to the next change to this. Director Kavanaugh, I agree with you as well that this doesn't really do anything. I look forward to when the board revises SD7 to change the net zero year from 2050 to an earlier year. Lincoln Electric System here in Nebraska has set that date for 2040. They have no idea how they're going to reach that, but they set that goal. And I am proud of OPPD's board and management and how they have surpassed the board's goal for 10% wind power not that many years ago. We're over 30% now. That is to be congratulated, and thank you for that. And I anticipate an earlier year being set by the OPPD board. In fact, I hope that there's some competition between OPPD and LES and others, and hopefully NPPD as well in the future, to see which public power district can show the best leadership in the state to protect our farmers, our ranchers, the people without air conditioning from an ever-warming world, because it's going to get worse and worse if we don't take quicker action than 2050. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Welch. Next up, I think we have David Corbin. David?
You hear me?
We can.
Okay. David Corbin, Chair of the Energy Committee of the Nebraska Sierra Club, 1002 North 49th Street. I just want to emphasize that all along OPPD has said that your SDs are working documents and that they change when it's necessary to change. I think this proposal for the change to SD7 is a good start, and it is that, a start. I'll add to Director Williams' list of who he was talking about that just happened within the last couple of days. The International Energy Agency, which is not an environmental organization, but an international organization that advises world capitals on energy policy, talked about the importance of addressing climate change. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce says inaction is not an option for climate change. Businesses say that. This is not something, there's a group called Republic N, which is Republicans calling themselves the eco-right. They believe that we need to address climate change now. This is an important step. I congratulate OPPD for putting the words in writing, and it is important to have those words in writing. It makes it official and makes it known that you recognize that climate change is happening, and I congratulate you on this particular change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corbin. Next up, we have John Pollock. John?
Yes, hello. John Pollock, 1412 North 35th Street, Omaha, representing myself only. But also as a meteorologist, I am pleased to to see this going on, not because it in any way elevates my profession, but because I think it's important for all of us to integrate the actions that we need to take to protect the planet. And I'm very happy that OPPD has decided to take this on as an institution. And I think that in adding it to the SD, you are underpinning your other efforts, in particular the decarbonization project. But I would also like to see you going ahead more with various other efforts that are related to that. So this is quite a significant day, I believe, and I want to thank you all for your work. I know there's a lot more ahead, and we're all going to be pulling on this together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pollock. And are there any other requests for public comment from WebEx?
I do not see any.
Okay. All right, and no members of the public here in person are waiting to make a comment, so, oh, you are. Well, you need to be up by the microphone. Go ahead.
My apologies. Scott Williams, 3820 Jones. I represent myself. I want to thank the members of the board who put in the effort and done the work to make this proposed change to SD7. I appreciate what's been said today about the fact that language needs to be considered and updated to reflect the best understanding of the situation that the district faces. And I think that this language change reflects indeed the best understanding of the board for the situation the district faces. So I appreciate the work of the board and also of the management and staff in giving robust consideration to the proposed updates to SD7 today. I also appreciate the new public engagement platform that was put forth. I think that this is a strong way for the public to be engaged in conversations with the management and the board of our public utility. Public engagement is essential to public power. And so thank you for bringing forth a new way, particularly in these COVID times, for people to be engaged in the conversation and to make their voices heard. I appreciated having an opportunity to submit comments about a month ago, and I also appreciated the opportunity to see the other comments that were submitted by others in that platform. And I'll be anxious to look forward, I'll be enthusiastic to look forward to how that type of public engagement platform is used in discussions going forward. I will say that I saw the preponderance, the vast majority of the comments that were strongly supportive of the proposed language today, and a small minority of comments that talked about tangentially relevant concepts to the scientific reality of climate change and that acknowledgement here in SD7. I think it's important to acknowledge that science is not political. And if your politics are about denying objective reality, then you're being lied to by your political leaders. And the real question is why they would do that to you. I think that that's an important question that people need to be asking right now, because we do need robust discussions about policies regarding the implementation of adaptation and mitigation strategies for climate change. And we don't need to be discussing whether reality exists. I think that there are a few people who believe that, quote, there are strong feelings on both
30
sides.
seconds.
However, there are only strong facts on one side of this issue, if it even has any sides at all. The acknowledgement of scientific reality as the best available information for the board to create strategic directives that guide the policy setting of our public utility is essential. I strongly encourage you to support the proposed amendment to SD7, and thanks very much for all the effort that you've put into this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. Okay, have there been any other requests to chat?
Sandy Lear.
All right, Ms. Lear?
Want to echo everyone's thankfulness for the revision of this SD7, recognizing the science and looking to go forward from here with the science fully in view. So I just want to thank everyone's hard work for this, and I look forward to what the future will hold. Thank you.
Sandy, before you go, your first words were cut off, and so if we could get your name and address for the record, and I think we probably caught the rest of the comment.
Okay, Sandy Lehr, L-E-H-R. Address is 9737 Brentwood Road, Omaha, Nebraska 68114.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, just last call. Any other comments? All right, looks like we have gone through the list. Ms. Henners, will you please call roll?
Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
No.
Howard,
Yes.
Molhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item 11, acquisition of land rights for energy delivery infrastructure projects associated with Power with Purpose, resolution number 6435. Whereas the district will need to acquire land rights for electric transmission facilities and substation projects throughout its service territory associated with the Power with Purpose project that will be initiated during the 2021 through 2022 calendar years. And whereas the district is authorized by Nebraska law to acquire property by eminent domain, and whereas the use of eminent domain may become necessary to acquire the permanent easements, temporary easements, and/or fee ownership of land that cannot be obtained voluntarily through negotiations by the district. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District that through and including December 31st, 2022, the district's management and general counsel are authorized and directed to commence eminent domain proceedings to acquire all necessary permanent easements, temporary easements, and/or fee ownership of land for electric transmission facilities and substations throughout the district service territory associated with the Power with Purpose project.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll move.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, Director Williams, would you like to tee this up for a board discussion?
Yes, staff informed us about the need for acquisition related to projects that are ongoing, and we talked about the specifics of how land rights acquisition is carried out. I appreciate the detailed information that was provided. This is something that comes up in my day job as well, and I trust that the staff is doing what's in the best interest of the people of the district by requesting the permission to move forward with these land rights. And I appreciate them bringing this forward to help expeditiously carry out all of the projects that are necessary for the Power with Purpose projects.
All right. Would any directors like to make a comment? Go ahead, Director.
Yeah, I just want to point out, this is a step that I know management takes very seriously and only proceeds if absolutely necessary. It's obviously can be emotional time. It can be emotional situation at times, and when you take people's land when they're not ready to sell it. I think from what I've observed, where folks do a compassionate, they engage in a compassionate manner, they work well, they show patience, and most of the time come to a consensus with the person before it actually even has to go, with the seller, the owner of the property, before it has to go to a condemnation process. And I appreciate that very much.
All right, thank you. Any other directors? Go ahead, Director Moody.
Yeah, I would just echo what Director Kavanaugh just said, which is to say, when we first talked about this, I had kind of an initial uncomfortable feeling about it because this is pretty important stuff. This is people's land. And we know that the district and senior management takes that extraordinarily very seriously, as do the people that work on it. And we do too, you know, this is not something to be taken lightly. So I appreciate the way in which we worked through a few alternatives to tighten this up a little bit so that the board had a better sense of comfort for kind of what it would be for and when it would happen. And I also know that you'll do a wonderful job, as you've done with Power with Purpose, of keeping us abreast as issues arise, as things occur. So thank you for the work on it, and I'll be voting yes.
Director Mulhoff?
Yes, so I just wanted to make a point that this eminent domain proceeding and these actions are only for property that is needed for OPPD for transmission and facilities. This does not apply to any private enterprise that is doing a PPA facility for that we would have an agreement with. So no private company, even if they have an agreement with OPPD, has the option for eminent domain. So I just wanted to be clear that that's the case.
Director Yoder?
As long as there are clarifications. So I echo everything that's been said by everybody already. And as it was explained to us, while there may be virgin land that's affected by this, the expectation I was left with is that it will mostly affect the footprint of existing easements. But there will be some new easements, of course. But this is just for power with purpose, and we'll probably see more activity, my understanding, with changes in footprints than for new easements.
All right, thank you. Would any other directors like to speak? Okay, we're very good. At this time, I'd like to ask if any members of the public have any comments on this action item. If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand.
David Corbin has his hand raised.
All right,
I'm
Mr.
not sure
Corbin,
if it's still, if it's a stale hand or.
would you like to make a comment about this? action
I
item?
tried to lower my hand and it wouldn't let me.
Noted. Thank you.
Sandy Lear.
All right, Sandy?
I don't have my hand up for this. I had it up for before. I don't know why. Sorry, it's still up, I guess.
No worries. Thank you very much.
And I'm not seeing any chats. Lauren, could you confirm? Lauren,
Yeah, I do not see anything in the chat either.
thank you.
Okay, are there any public attendees that wish to speak at this time? All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Henners, will you please call roll?
Wagner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Mulhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item 12, CEO selection, appointment of L. Javier Fernandez as President and Chief Executive Officer, resolution number 6436. Whereas President and CEO Timothy J. Burke has announced his planned retirement from the district, and whereas the Board of Directors has completed the search for an executive to replace Mr. Burke as President and CEO, and has received and considered input from customer owners and other members of the public, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District hereby appoints L. Javier Fernandez as President and Chief Executive Officer of the district effective July 1st, 2021, at the salary set forth on Exhibit A attached hereto.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Director Moody, would you like to tee this up for discussion?
I would love to. I'm going to start with some expressions of gratitude. Gratitude, I think, really helps us get grounded a little bit and gives us a positive look on life. So I first want to thank a few people. First, my colleagues. Do you realize that it was only 2 months ago that we learned that Tim Burke was retiring? 2 months ago. Thank you for going so swiftly through this process. Thank you for your collaboration. Thank you for the good, hard conversations. Well done to all of you, and Director Bogner, you in particular. I appreciated your involvement in this process. Mart Sedke, Lisa Olson, Council Bruckner, thank you for all of the time and energy that you spent with us as well to make sure that the process was good. I'm really proud of the way that this unfolded. And you were important shepherds for us through that process. Thank you to all of the public and employees who provided us comments. This is one of the more important things that we do as directors, and I think you as public and employees acknowledge that and provided us with some really good feedback. Thank you to all 5 applicants for throwing your name in the hat. I know that takes some courage, and so I wanted to thank all 5 of them. And then Javier, thank you for your courage to step into this role as well. Before I turn it over to all of you, again, quick summary of the process. We learned in March that Mr. Burke was retiring. We started our process immediately thereafter and began seeking public feedback. That took us through April. Well over 1,000 comments. We got 5 excellent candidates that applied. We conducted interviews in April as well. And then finally, we had a closed session discussion about those candidates in late April to zero in on Javier as our finalist. In May, we had a meet and greet on the 10th. We had a governance committee meeting wherein we asked Javier additional questions and did some more due diligence, even after he was the finalist. The board discussed compensation terms in our closed session on Tuesday, and then obviously we're voting today. So that's the very abridged version of the process. I do want to take a moment before I talk positively about Javier to talk about salary, because the salary is a big number, and it's important that I think we as a board talk about it a little bit. So a couple things about it. First, our priorities, generally speaking, were for a salary that was competitive and comparable to other public power CEOs. We wanted a salary that is fair, and that's not just fair to Javier, that's fair to OPPD's employees and to our customer owners. And it was really important in our conversations that transparency was a very high value for us. And I think we've pursued that as we've talked through this. CEO compensation can be fairly complicated. In my opinion, sometimes unnecessarily so. But as a result of all of the different types and forms of compensation, it can be difficult to understand the value of a full compensation package for an executive, which makes it challenging to compare and contrast. Nevertheless, we know that we've been lagging the market when it comes to CEO compensation. As noted in the resolution, Javier's new salary will be, after we vote and as he moves into that role, will be $695,000. Because our salaries are public, many of you also know that current CEO Burke's salary is around $591,000. So there's a delta there, obviously. So we wanted to give at least, and again, from a transparency standpoint, that's why we're talking about this. So why the increase? First, when looking at base salary, we're working towards being more competitive with the market. And again, we've lagged when it comes to base salary in the CEO slot by quite a bit. And then the other factor that played into this was nearly 2 decades ago, as a vice president, Tim Burke earned additional years of pension service, which increases the value of his pension upon retirement. Javier's salary takes into account an approximation of that annual value of those additional years of service so as to follow our priorities of being competitive, comparable, and fair. So again, we're raising all of this above board. Javier transparency is important, especially when it comes to executive salaries, and as such with Javier's salary, it is what it is. There are currently no additional short-term or long-term incentives, bonus payments, or other forms of compensation. It's $695,000, period, full stop. The board is also keeping an eye on the felt fair pay concept to ensure that the CEO's compensation doesn't become out of line with what the average salary is for the rest of the district's employees. That's something we've talked about frequently and is very important to the board. And I'll close with respect to the salary conversation by simply saying there's no question that executive compensation is high. I think that's undeniable. It's a lot of money, but in my opinion, that's as it should be. There is also a lot on the shoulders of our executives. Responsibilities are immense, especially at a time of such significant change in the industry and with the organization. And the compensation, in my view, is fair and 100% justified for the work that they do. I'll wrap up by saying, I want to give my colleagues an opportunity to speak, and I don't want to steal their thunder in talking about Javier, but before I turn it over, I'll just make one quick comment. The public in our feedback from the public and employees told us that they were looking for a credible, proven, forward-thinking leader with excellent communication skills and a passion for the communities OPPD serves. And I think that's just what we've got. I couldn't be more excited about the direction we're headed as a utility, and I have every confidence that Javier is unquestionably the right person to lead us into the future. Turn it over to my colleagues for additional comments.
Director Mulhoff.
So from the time Javier joined OPPD, he's leaned into the culture, operations, and functions of the organization above and beyond the financial area for which he was responsible. Over the past 2.5 years I've worked with Javier, I found him to be knowledgeable, thoughtful, and strategic. If his success as CFO is any indication, his achievement as CEO will continue to transform the utility and strengthen us to meet all of our goals. My thanks also to Javier's family for supporting him in his new role. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Mulhoff. Director Yoder.
Yep. So first, I don't want any superlatives or support that I offer for Javier to in any way diminish the admiration and respect I have for Tim as CEO. Mr. Burke, we'll celebrate and reflect all things Tim next month. Now is the time to celebrate and reflect on the new leadership for OPPD. It is still spring. It's a time of renewal, and this is a good time for leadership transition as OPPD transforms with the rest of the entire industry. Change brings with it challenges for everyone involved, both inside and outside of the organization, from entry level to C-suite and the board. My sense is that OPPD is well positioned to meet the challenges brought on by the many facets of transformation in the industry. That's my sense, but of course, the board has yet to see plans for decarbonization or in-depth description of OPPD's version of the utility of the future. This, for me, was the very best reason for making an internal selection. I was reluctant to delay the public revelation and review of those things. So that was the best reason for me to go internally. The good news is that we can all still learn through the good work of groups like SEPA, the organization recommended to me on a breakfast by the former APPA president and CEO, Sue Kelly. In April, SEPA released a report putting 5 public power utilities on their utility leaderboard. Utilities making a successful transformation to a clean and modern energy future. 4 of them, Austin Public Power, Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, SMUD, and Seattle City Light, are OPPD colleagues in the large Public Power Council. I am confident the board has chosen the right leader, or is choosing the right leader, to move OPPD forward in these transformative times, to hopefully join its colleagues on the national leaderboard. Javier is incredibly bright, thoughtful, genuine, likable, and hardworking. He is the right man at the right time. I join my colleagues on the board in endorsing Javier and offering whatever help I can to make our collective journey forward a successful one.
All right, thank you, Director Yoder. Director Kavanaugh.
Yeah, Javier, I'd like to speak directly to you. Am I turned on? Okay. I'm very happy for you and your entire family. I can only imagine how proud you folks are. we're certainly proud of you as well. I know you're going to do a great job. Look forward to working with you. Very, very confident in your ability and you're going to lead us forward. Again, congratulations. That's all I have for now. We'll talk later. Okay.
Thank you, Director Kavanaugh. Director Williams?
Yeah, thank you. Over the past 2.5 years, I've had the significant pleasure of getting to know CFO Fernandez. It's been an amazing experience for me and both with you and with the rest of the senior management team, with outgoing CEO Burke. We are in an ongoing transition of resources, both at our existing facilities at Fort Calhoun and North Omaha, and as well with the acquisition of new resources at the gas facilities and the new solar facilities that are continuing to be developed. This clean energy transition is not only because of the increased focus on environmental sensitivity, but on the undeniable economics of clean energy. And there's a very fine line between the difference of the cost of energy and the value of energy. And I am especially grateful that CFO Fernandez's experience will be available across the breadth of the organization as we continue to work through this extremely refined point and understanding how the transition that is occurring across the industry and across our society will impact OPPD and how we can, under his leadership, continue to be an example in our community and across the country of how utilities can successfully improve their communities and the lives of the people in their communities through dedicated and focused policy and implementation. And so as we continue with the major ongoing projects that have been mentioned already, Power with Purpose, the strategic initiative toward decarbonization, the strategic vision around powering the future to 2050, I believe that Javier will do an excellent job of remaining focused on the success we have had in the past, the path we are on now, and the vision of where we are going in the future and how we can continue to be successful and continue to be the trusted energy partner in our community. So full support for Javier. I appreciate everything that you have done and look forward to everything you will do for this organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Directors? You're good? Okay. All right, well, I'll make the final comments. The process of finding a CEO for this organization was an incredible process. And, I definitely, my hat's off to Director Moody for guiding us through that process. We learned a lot about the organization. We learned a lot about some individuals that are within the organization, incredible individual candidates that we have. And we learned a lot about you, Javier, some things that we didn't know before, which we have already worked closely together with me being on Finance Committee over the last couple of years. And so that was very enjoyable. And you're absolutely the right leader for the right time. And I'm looking forward to working with you in the coming years. So with that, I would like to ask if there's any members of the public that have comments on this action item. If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Are there any public comment requests?
I do not see any hand raises. Lauren, have you received any chats?
I have not received any chats and I don't see any hand raises.
Okay. Well, at this time, I would like for Ms. Tenners to call the roll.
Wagner,
Absolutely.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Mulhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Fernandez to address the board.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an emotional moment. There's a lot of passion around this room, a lot of passion around the organization, the region, because the work we do matters. It matters to 850,000 people who rely on the service we provide day in and day out to carry out their lives. It is a huge honor. I start my day and I end my day on my knees. I've prayed, I prayed when I considered apply for this role, and I'm honored and I'm humbled by your selection. With me, I have my family, my beautiful wife Belinda, Lucia, Alex, Emily, and little Sarah. We left her at home. She's too young to participate today. They are my support. They are my pillars. They are the reason why I wake up every morning and I do what I do. And I want to thank them for that. I want to thank my colleagues at senior management, each and every one of you. I haven't seen you guys in a long time in 3D. It's fantastic to see you all. I would not have applied for this role had I not had the team that I have and the team that I will continue to have. We are a team. This is not an individual sport. And I know we will do great things because we are amazing as a team. I want to thank the OPPD family, every woman and man that day in and day out, they pour their souls and their technical skills to make this miraculous energy work. I want to thank all of you, Board of Directors, each one of you. I've had the pleasure and honor to work with all of you. It's been fun. It is fantastic to meet Director Howard and Director Spurgeon finally in person, in 3D again. And so I look forward to more interactions in the future. I want to thank my FSBU team, my direct reports. That was another factor that led me to apply. I know that I have a strong team behind me that can carry out the financial functions of the team, supply chain management, and energy marketing and trading, and all of the other financial aspects of the team. They are fantastic, and they allowed me to take a little bit of time off from my regular job to apply for this position. My partner, Julie Scott, whom without I would be lost. She orchestrates everything behind the scenes, and she's a big reason why I'm here today. Tim, 4 years ago at the May board meeting, the board of directors voted and they approved you hiring me. And I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity, for giving me the chance. I thought you were bluffing when you told me that OPPD is a family. I thought you just wanted to hire me. But you were not lying. You really lived up to that. You have led a fantastic organization, a family that is just an amazing. It's a joy to work with, and it would be an honor to lead, to follow in your footsteps. You've done amazing things for the district. I thank you for your mentorship, for your guidance, and I am humbled. I am honored to follow on your footsteps. Last, I want to thank my parents and my sisters. They're watching from Mexico. So a little bit of Spanish here. Pa, muchísimas gracias por todo el amor, por todos los sacrificios que hicieron para darme a mí y a mis hermanas la educación que hoy me tiene aquí en este lugar. Los quiero mucho. Mom and Dad, I want to thank you for all the love, for all the sacrifices that you made to give me and my sisters the education that we needed and the education that is putting me here today. I love you. I know we have a ton of work in front of us. I'm a little nervous about that because it's a lot of work, but it is worthy work, and I can't wait to continue this work. I know the sky's the limit. I know we can do it. There are a lot of stretch goals, and we will do our best to continue to move OPPD in the way that we have already been moving, faster and better, all for the benefit of our customer owners. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much for addressing us. We appreciate that. All right, at this time, I would like to invite Tim Burke to give the president's report.
Before we get into the president's report, just a couple stories, no videos or pictures that I'll share, but you know, Javier is an exceptional leader, and I'll talk more about this next month, but he's special. You are special. So I'm not nervous about the future. I know I'm retired, but I am not nervous about the future. Matter of fact, I feel very comfortable with the leader the board has picked and selected. So thank you for the due diligence that you put in for this work. A little story. I think it was Kate Brown and Martin and I. We were part of the interview team, and we went through a variety of different candidates, and we got done with Javier. And part of the deal was in the interview, the candidate would then go into my office, and we'd have a private conversation so they could ask whatever they wanted to ask. And he asked a little bit about, is this family thing really true? And the answer is really is true. And it's certainly a strategic advantage to this organization, very clearly. But as soon as Javier left the little conference room, Kate and Mart said, if you don't hire him now. And I said, hey, we have 2 more interviews to go. Let's just go through the interview process. And they said, if you don't hire him now, this is a problem. And so I met with Javier and I said, we'll be in touch. And I think I sent him a note later that day and the next day, and about 3 or 4 days later, we got back together again. And I knew he was special. And I know he matched our core values very clearly, certainly in the CFO role, but I will tell, and I've told everybody this in the organization, you will see him as an amazing leader and an exceptional person because you are special. And this organization will have the opportunity to experience that. So I'm not worried about all the things that I have going on. I know it's in the right hands with Javier leading, with the senior team, with the 1,800 employees that'll support you. So that's kind of cool. So let me do my deal and get through the president's report, if you wouldn't mind. Thank goodness I'm not emotional on this stuff. So let's do that. Let's talk about our generation real quick. You'll see here in Nebraska City 1, it went into a planned outage on April 2nd, and in a few days here, a couple days, it'll be up and operating again and doing incredibly well. Nebraska City 2 has operated after its planned outage incredibly well, really based on market needs, as you see that capacity factor. And Unit 4 and 5 are also part of the market changes that are going on in there, and certainly we've utilized them when we've needed to, and we've put them in reserve shutdown when we needed to put them in reserve shutdown. If we could go to the peaking generation slide, that'd be great. Just a little bit, not a lot of generation going on our peakers, but they're there to provide system stability when it's called upon in the system. And so we've had Cass County and Sarpy County be called upon over the course of the month of April. And actually this compares relatively similarly to last year at this time. Let's go to the April renewables. Renewable energy contributed to 41% of OPPD's retail energy sales. That's pretty significant. So I'm not sure if it was Mr. Corbin or Mark Welsh. Last month, it was 49.1% of OPPD's retail sales. That's pretty significant. Had a capacity factor of 54.9%. Wind specifically had a capacity factor of 51.5%. So pretty significant wind month for us. Year to date, renewable energy contributed to 37.5% of our retail energy sales and had a capacity factor of 45.9%. Community solar for the month of April was 20.7%. We're going to see that continually move and grow over the course of the next several months. And year to date, that capacity factor was 14.8%. During our hearings at Saunders County, there was an individual that said, hey, your community solar was not operating. And we had to correct that because that's not true at all. It is operating. But the manufacturer and our partner is changing a significant amount of the gearboxes that were identified through a manufacturing process as flawed. And so they're going through that process to do that. So we would expect this to see an increase in our capacity factors for community solar as we move into the pretty critical parts of the summer of 2021. And let's move into a little bit more on solar. This is a huge accomplishment for our team, for our company, I think for our board, and for our customer owners. On Tuesday, the Saunders County Board of Supervisors approved the Platte View Solar Project 6-0. I want to personally thank, I've had the opportunity to meet with them or talk to them individually, many of them, a couple I had to leave messages and follow back up on, but it was a 6-0 vote. And I want to thank them for their foresight, thank them for their diligence, thank them for their thoughtful considerations and conversations to really make this partnership that we're going to have with community energy even more valuable for the community. You know, we've been in Saunders County for decades, providing incredible services. And it's really important for us to continue that in a different way. And we will be exceptional partners with community energy or whoever operates that facility in the future, but we'll be partners with Saunders County going forward. There's no doubt in my mind with that. You know, and that's not a CEO deal. That's a community organization deal. That's an OPPD commitment that we've made in the work that we do. We honor our communities. We have a passion to serve and we care for each other. This project will be an 81 megawatt project. It'll provide enough energy to support about 1,400 typical homes. Pretty significant. Our partner, Community Energy, was at our hips and many times asked us to take the lead because we are the ones that have the relationships. And I will just tell you, in every conversation I had with the commissioner, they specifically said, listen, we trust OPPD. You are our trusted energy partner. We want you to be close on these projects because we trust you. You have been here for decades and we know you're going to be good partners. And so just a quick shout outs. You know, we had one of our board members that testified at the Board of Supervisors hearing on Tuesday. So Director Mulhall, thank you very much. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your relationship you've had in Saunders County and really being part of the OPPD extension to get this project permitted in Saunders County. Specifically, I want to thank Michaela Valentine and a variety of folks around her that supported her. Tim O'Brien, Lori Zagurski, just a number of people day in and day out. Specifically, want to thank Lisa Olson and Mary Fisher. Mary was also at the Board of Supervisor meeting on Tuesday and just really represented OPPD incredibly well. This will be a great project. This is going to kickstart the solar component of our Power with Purpose. And so this is really, really important. And I think it sets the stage for future opportunities for us to continue with our Power with Purpose. So very excited about that. So thank you all. Thank you all that participated in that and led that and worked incredibly hard through that. And a specific thank you to the Saunders County Board of Supervisors for their foresight and their commitment. Let's go to the next slide. At the beginning of May, OPPD officially launched our new expanded Smart Thermostat program. The program now includes a variety of models from Honeywell, Emerson, Ecobee, which allows customers to have more options when choosing to participate in the program. This is our opportunity. It's our demand side management program that really helps OPPD manage peak demands. And we found out that we not only need that during the summer, but at times we may need that during the winter. And you'll see in future programming us to include that during the winter time. Customers that are interested in participating in the program and enroll with a qualified smart thermostat will receive a $75 bill credit upon enrollment and then $20 annually as they participate in the project. So this is a great opportunity for customers that want to engage. They can go to oppd.com, smart thermostat, go to the OPPD website to go ahead and engage in this project and program. And it's an opportunity for our customer owners to be customer owners and help us do the work that we do so diligently here at OPPD. Let's move to the next slide. You know, OPPD has completed 3 of our 6 scheduled workshops for 2021. We've included both our employees as we kind of test the systems and the slides and get feedback from our employees. And then we go to external customers. We have had over 150 stakeholders, external customers, participate in our first 3 workshops. And these are in a every other week segment. So our teams work incredibly hard between those presentations and certainly hard during those events to make sure that we share the information, get feedback, and understand that. This work will really help support our integrated resource plan work that will be occurring in 2021. We've had attendees, not only locals, many of the folks that I see are attendees on our call, but also those that represent local organizations and national organizations that are represented on this slide. And I think it's really important as we talked about transparency. One of the verbatim comments that we received in the surveying of our customers, and I'll just read it because I think it's important to read, is the workshop provided detailed information on OPPD's evaluation process for achieving decarbonization, and I appreciate the transparency. So just a great opportunity. And the feedback that we're getting from these sessions, the majority of the customers are either satisfied or very satisfied with the workshops. And let's go to the next slide, because workshop number 4, and our team is finally getting feedback, and we'll have feedback through Friday, May 28th on workshop 3. But we have workshop 4 that's planned for Wednesday, May 26th. And as we, the topic will be developing a modeling approach. The time is 4 to 6. You can go on oppdcommunityconnect.com to register for this program. And if you haven't been part of this or can't be part of this workshop or others, you can go on oppdcommunityconnect.com and see the first 3 workshops that we have completed. And so please go ahead and do that. And we'd love the opportunity for participation. And just before I go to the last slide, I thought I'd report out to the board. We received notification from Seth Voiles. I don't have a slide for it because it's that quick and new. That LB 306, which was our bill that OPPD sponsored and really crafted. And then Senator Brandt was the sponsor and also prioritized this bill to really help more Nebraskans and certainly more OPPD customers. And this is considered the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. And it's to expand the eligibility from 130% of federal poverty level to 150%, making more Nebraskan households eligible. It's a great opportunity for OPPD to really kind of leverage our opportunity within the Nebraska legislature, and this will be a great opportunity. It also stipulates that not less than 10% of the LIHEAP funds can be allocated to weatherization assistance. And that bill passed with a vote of 38 to 6 with 5 not voting. This was a great, again, team effort by many across the district. And certainly I want to thank Senator Brandt and many on his committee and many other supporters, and certainly Seth Voiles, who worked hard to get this bill into the senator's hands and to prioritize it. So it's just a great opportunity, and I think it's just a great success. It will be a great success for our OPPD customer owners. And then finally, each month we talk about an employee that has given their life in the line of duty. And Ed Runka died on April 16, 1946. We are celebrating 75 years of OPPD history this year. And if you this was the first year OPPD was OPPD. And this was the first individual that died in the line of duty. He was 56 years old with 26 years at OPPD and the predecessor company at that time of his death. He died on April 16, 1946, while working on a line in Bellevue, Nebraska. He was attempting to fasten his safety belt when he made contact with the line. He was survived by his mother, 2 brothers, and 5 sisters. And it's just the ongoing remembrance that we have that to think about our men and women that are doing this work. And some of this work can be dangerous, and just to remember them during the times of bad weather, good weather, and just the work that they do each day. And just thank you for the opportunity for us to share the remembrance of these individuals that have given their life. So with that, that concludes my president's report. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, President Burke. Now is the opportunity for the public to comment on other items of district business. So if you have any comments, I invite you to send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. And I think that we do have Mr. Bobolka that would like to address us.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Alan Vovolka, 3719 Hamilton, Omaha, Nebraska. I did want to speak on the Javier's hiring issue, but before I forget, I'd also like to mention something related to transparency and the way these meetings are conducted. The participants who are not listed are all the members of the public who have joined to speak or to observe. And in regular public meetings, everyone who shows up does get to be aware of who's participating. I'd also like to thank Tim Burke on his slide where he mentioned which other people were participating in the workshops. I've been in there. I think it's important that everyone who participates should be able to see everyone else who participates. I mean, not necessarily see, but be aware of who else is in those meetings. And on the question of Javier being hired as CEO, I'd like to congratulate him. I believe Javier is an excellent choice. And I would like to remind him and the board that if you're going to pay him more than you've been paying Tim Burke, he needs to earn that money. And that is not going to be an easy task. I know Javier can do it, but he'll have to work hard. And I hope the board is planning to hold him accountable for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Volka. We will hold him accountable to that. Mr. Bruckner, would you be able to address the transparency of attendees in some of our public WebEx meetings? Is there anything that we could report out on why that list is maybe not as clear?
Yes, I'd be happy to do so. Thank you, Chair Bogner. I understand the comment. I think we should look into it. The participants may not be listed perhaps because of the technology, and that's what we need to look into. It's certainly compliant with the Open Meetings Act, the way it's done. That's not a problem. But I think it's a very good comment, and I think to the extent that we can fix it, we ought to do that. So we'll look into it.
All right, thank you. I will work with the PI committee to sort through that. Thank you very much for bringing that to the board. Are there any other public comments at this time?
John Pollock.
Mr. Pollock.
Yes, John Pollock, 1412 North 35th Street, Omaha. My congratulations to Javier. I'm going to switch to weather. We are getting into the severe weather season. We've been lucky so far, and it looks like for at least the next 10 days or so, we're not looking at any particularly strong threats. The overall reason for that is that the jet stream in our region has been rather weak, and it looks like that pattern is going to continue for a while. The June outlook for us is for near normal temperatures, above normal precipitation, which would make it fairly wet since June is our wettest month. On the other hand, it's always hard to tell with precipitation in the summer because it comes mostly from thunderstorms. One caution that I would have is that the overall pattern is being driven by severe drought in the western U.S., especially the southwest, which, considering the season that we're in, is not going to be relieved until at least fall. We also have serious drought in the western Dakotas. So with this tends to create a large high pressure system aloft over the western U.S. If it invades our area, we get quite hot and dry, but on the boundary, we are also subject more than usual to strong wind events going forth because we'd have a source of hot, dry air to the west and cooler, moist air to the east. And in particular, that over shows more than usual. They're very hard to forecast because they depend on a balance of forces. Of course, last year, Iowa had a very, very bad one. One thing that I do know is that the tree crews are always out there trying to proactively clear the lines, and I appreciate, thank you. I appreciate their work, and hopefully we don't have even more reason than usual to appreciate it this year. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pollock. Any other requests for public comment?
I'm not seeing any additional hand raises.
Okay.
Ms. Horton, can you confirm if you've received any chats or not?
I have not received any chats thus far.
All right. I know that Director Molhoff would like to address us. If you would like to go ahead.
I will, thank you. Yesterday, after the vote on Tuesday, I got an email for someone who I don't usually interact with, someone who's in the leadership at Saunders County, and they sent me this email, and I would like to read it to the staff because it really represents how folks in Saunders County, for the most part, view OPPD as a trusted partner. And I'll quote, "The success yesterday was a testament to the incredible team OPPD put together. They engaged as a true partner and set a standard for all future conditional use applicants. And all conditional use applicants will struggle to live up to that. On a personal note, public power is a matter dear to my heart as a Nebraskan. Yourself and the entire leadership of OPPD should be commended for embracing that legacy and bringing our grid into the 21st century through the Power with Purpose initiative," end quote. And I want to say that that perfectly represents how I feel about the team that did the incredible work to pass the solar project in Saunders County. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Director Molhoff. We appreciate that. Any other requests for public comment?
I do not see any hand raises. Ms. Horton?
Still have not, yeah, I still have not gotten any comments from the public in the chat.
Okay, well, thank you all for attending this evening. Our meeting has concluded.